I think as a dairy farmer's daughter that I learned work ethic. I'm a driver, so I just the need to win at 4-H shows, the need to be first, those kind of things. It just drives me and continuously, I would say.
You give someone a trust fund, and we've seen it time and time again where they just kind of go off the rail and their life is awful just because they're just giving money, right? But when you give your kids the work ethic like you're talking about, like they can go out and create their own. Welcome to Green Country Conversations, the podcast where we hear about the stories and learn about the people that make Northeast Oklahoma truly great. I'm your host, Maverick Pitchford, owner of Bison Ridge Insurance, and today we're going to hear an inspiring story from a business owner who has turned her local soap and bath company into a community hub for inspiration and joy. But before we dive into that, I'd like to take a minute and thank our sponsors.
This ad is brought to you by absolutely no one. But it could be. Imagine you're here, your name's here, your logo's here, and I'm singing your praises. All you have to do is sponsor this podcast. If you're interested, please reach out to me at maverick@bisonridgeinsurance.com.
Joining us today is Scottie Rae Lawrence, the proud owner of Magnolia Soap and Bath with locations both in Tulsa and Broken Arrow. Scottie took a leap of faith during the pandemic to open her first store and has since built a business that's built not just a business, but a community hub for happiness and giving back. From her Hope and Soap program to fundraising for local nonprofits, she has truly redefined what it means to run a value-driven business. Scottie, welcome to the show. It's such an honor to have you here today.
Thank you so much for asking me. I appreciate it.
For sure. I'm super excited. I got some information on you and did some research, and I'm really excited to kind of hear your story. But first, let's start with a couple icebreaker questions.
Okay.
Obviously, you're in the soap business. I got on your website and I saw some of the scents, and I know that there's some that made me laugh, and so I'm curious to kind of hear you answer this. If you could create a soap scent inspired by a food or another unique smell, what would it be?
Oh my gosh, food. I think I would do, we actually made one with bacon.
Yeah,
So we had a bacon scented soap one year for
that's super
Father's
fun.
Day, and we thought it was going to be really good, but it didn't go over very well.
It didn't go very well. I
We thought
guess
for sure men and bacon would go well, but it was the opposite.
that's so
So
funny.
we
That's
tried
hilarious.
bacon.
That's
Yeah.
so funny. Yeah, two of the favorites that I saw super quick on your website was the Bathman. Made me
Yeah.
giggle because it was yellow and black like Batman. I assume that was the play there. And
Yes.
then there was another one that really made me laugh. So
Serial
I thought it was
killer is
cool.
really fun.
Serial
Yeah.
killer, that was
Yeah.
the other one. Yeah, that one was super cool. That's so fun.
Yes.
Do you come up with those? How does that kind of work on?
Now we come up with some, but most of them are just part of our group. And then
That's
so we're
awesome.
given recipes. Yeah.
That's super cool.
Yeah, that one
If
smells like Fruit Loops.
really,
Yes. So
that's
exactly
cool.
like
It
Fruit
looked
Loops.
like on there that was kind of what you guys were going for. So that's fun. My son would love that. He loves Fruit Loops. So, if you could turn any mundane activity into Olympic sport and win gold, what would it be? So for me, like I would not be able to win gold in like doing dishes or laundry or anything like that. I would say for me, as you think about yours, mine would probably be like talking to people until they're just tune me out because I'm so good at just talking. So I could probably win gold in that fairly easily. What would yours be?
So this summer we were going to do Olympics at our
Uh-huh.
stores and do competing between all three stores. And so we had categories of how many products you can sell,
That's
and
super fun.
then how quickly you can wrap something. So for us, it'd be like, how quickly can we wrap a soap and label them? Because we
That's
label
awesome.
and wrap, or actually no, it's how many laundry soaps can we scent in a day. So
Yeah.
we do a lot of laundry scenting.
I bet that's super fun. That's cool. Um, so I know in your pre-information that you sent over, and then the research I did, you had mentioned that you grew up on a family farm. So I'd be curious to see what is maybe one thing that you learned on the farm that you bring into your business now. Maybe one skill or value that you learned there.
I think as a dairy farmer's daughter that I learned work ethic was so I just um, the amount of work that's required to be on a farm or to take care of animals or being responsible for others outside of yourself. I learned that very quickly. So that was, I think, work ethic. There's those memes that's going around. I inherited my parents' work ethics, not their money. So
Yeah.
that's me. So work ethic, and I'm a driver. So I
Yeah.
just the need to win at 4-H shows, the need to be first, those kind of things. It just drives me, and continuously, I would say.
Well, that's amazing because as a guy who has three young boys, like obviously I'm growing a business and I want to create a legacy for them, but the greatest legacy I could create for them is showing them hard work and kind of how you build something from the ground up and all those things. Because I think you give someone a trust fund, and we've seen it time and time again where they just kind of go off the rail and their life is awful just because they're just given money, right? But when you give your kids the work ethic like you're talking about, like they can go out and create their own. And you don't have to worry about that as a parent because you're like, I know I instilled that into them. So that's super awesome to hear that that's what you were instilled into you by working on the farm.
Yes. Yeah, and
That's super
my
cool.
children are adults now, so my son, our youngest, he works with us part-time at the stores. He helped me open them. And so he sees me. For me, they're always watching, and you lead by example. So that's been very important. And our daughter, she's very successful. She lives in Phoenix in her career. So they see how hard their parents work.
Yeah,
So
that's amazing. That's super cool. If you could just pinpoint one single thing, because I'm sure we'll get into more as we go throughout the podcast, but what's the major thing that differentiates Magnolia Soap from other bath product companies?
yeah, that's a really good question. And we mention this a lot whenever we're doing like our tours. But the main thing is, we're locally owned.
Mhm.
So I own all three. I'm seen at all three. I work all three, and we're plant-based.
That's
So
amazing.
that's not the case for most places. Even competitors that you could say compete directly with us, like to like, apples to apples. Our products are a little bit different, but we are locally owned, and that's the biggest thing. So you're shopping local when you're shopping with us.
And that's such a big thing because like even like in my business, like being in the insurance space, obviously there's giant companies that have no affiliation with, the green country area or anything like that. And if you can get working with someone who is locally based, like there's such a different level of service and care because like other than just being a customer, like those are your neighbors, those are your community members, and it's like it makes a big deal for a business owner to be able to give back to that community.
Yes, 100%.
What is your favorite product in the store and why?
I have I have top three favorite things, but and they're pretty much tied. But I love our shower oil because we talk about this. So like when you're giving a tour, you want to kind of relate to the customer and see
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
here's what I like and how I use it. So that's how we train our team is, this is what I like, this is how I use it. So our shower oil is our most versatile product because you can use it as a moisturizer, you can put it in your hair, you can shave with it, use it as perfume or cologne. But I also cannot live without our laundry soap. So our laundry wash is life changing and makes doing laundry a lot more fun because it's bougie.
That's funny. That's amazing. That's super cool. I like how they're on both different ends of the spectrum as well.
Yeah.
So now getting into more of the industry talk, kind of getting down into the weeds of being a business owner and those type of things. Obviously, you took I mentioned it in the intro, you took the leap of faith into being a business owner, which I know you already had business before, but in this specific context, during the pandemic, I had gotten started in insurance during the pandemic, so I completely relate to this. What inspired you to take that leap of faith during that time?
I was getting very restless. I have a very restless mind. So at the time, I had a wedding business, and that went kaput, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
All the brides were postponing, and so my wedding business was like everything was canceled. And so people started talking about what are pandemic proof, like what's essential, what's not essential. That's never even crossed anybody's mind
Yeah, right.
before, right? What's a pandemic proof career? What's not a pandemic proof career? And so, and I just found out about this like soap business. I was like, oh, I could do soap. How hard could that be? And so I just found out about it in September 2020, and then signed my agreement in October, opened in December 12th, 2020.
Yeah,
So
that's amazing.
it was literally just jumping off a cliff and
Mhm.
doing it without any retail experience besides high school and college. So
That's funny. Yeah, I could completely relate to that. You sound a lot like me, where once you kind of just set your mind on something, it's like just go and we'll figure it out. I like the analogy that they say, jump off the cliff and build the plane on your way down, type of thing. Like you're gonna jump, and you have confidence in yourself to figure it out, right?
yes,
Exactly the same way for me, and I think that when you do it that way, it makes you more creative and more just better at tackling things head on because you're not stuck in the planning phase. I think a lot of people get stuck in planning phases and they're just like, oh, I don't know, it's not perfect time. It's not like, let's just go for it and figure it out. I mean, you've had other businesses. If it doesn't work out, you just run it back and do something else. And I know that's easy to say, like when we're just having this conversation, and when you're actually going to pull the trigger, it's a lot different. But if you can capture that, like it makes things so much easier because you're not just stuck in the wondering what if.
yes, 100%. I always say that my husband told me I had to burn the boats whenever
Yeah, for
I
sure.
did this. So I had to get into this and burn all the boats and leave them. And this is
Yeah.
what I had to focus on because therefore I sold my wedding businesses and I got completely into this. And yeah, there was like, for me, people ask, well, what if you fail? And I tell people all the time, I have never failed at anything. I've simply learned a way of not to do that. And then
Yeah.
I recreate the path that I'm going to take. So
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's no losses, just lessons. You're just learning as
yes.
you go, right? That's
Yeah.
awesome. So how do you manage balancing, multiple shops, while still giving back to the community? Because I know that's a really big thing for you.
It is, and I didn't know like what would be the motivating factor to keep somebody going. And when people ask me like, what is it? I'm like, you have to have a reason why of what you're doing, and it has to be outside of yourself. And I've always been a volunteer, but I didn't know how I could do something with soap, right? It took me a while to figure it out. And then so started doing give back events and partnering with local charities. And it just kind of grew into now it's like a waiting list to get onto our Hope and Soap program. So I balance it because I have 3 stores. I have 3 amazing teams that run those. I manage the managers and manage my goals. And then I connect with the local charities and work with them. So right now we're creating our 2025 calendar based on all the nominations that we got from our customers in
Amazing.
2024. So
That's super cool. I think for me, like as we grow, I was just talking to my wife about this the other day. Like I want to set apart 10% of our revenue as we continue to grow to be able to do community events and those type of things. Even if it's just something simple as like going and buying people's gas at the gas station, like little things like that, just to be
yeah,
able to give back to your community. Because I think that, like you're saying, it gives you that reason why, so that on those tough days, it's like, oh yeah, this is the reason I do this, is so I can give back and I can be a beacon of hope and I can do all of those things. I think that's really important.
yes. And so I not only do like the Hope and Soap, I also sponsor a lot of the Miss local Miss America, Miss Oklahoma delegates. And so I want to be a mentor for the young girls to see that
That's awesome.
they can do something while they are pursuing their goals.
That's super cool. Um, so obviously we mentioned you've owned a couple businesses in the past. We've mentioned that a couple times. What are some lessons you learned for your previous ventures that have helped you succeed in Magnolia Soap?
So I'm a licensed chiropractor. So I met my husband in chiropractic school, and so we opened um, our chiropractic business. And what I learned quickly is that I need consistent change. So that seems like adverse to what most people like is I like change. And so I need things to be constantly moving, and that, causes a little bit of riff with my team, but
Yeah.
I'm very, very quick to pivot and I'm very quick to take action. So if something isn't working, um, whether it's through, with our chiropractic practice, I flip houses, I've done rentals, is I can quickly change my reality and change what I'm doing and compartmentalize one thing at a time.
Hmm.
So that's something that I learned having multiple at one time. You have to just take that particular one and not let it affect the other one.
Yeah, yeah, because when you're running multiple ventures like that, you can't let, because there might be a fire going on over here, and then you might be in
Yes.
green pastures, good selling over here, and you can't let those two intercross and ruin the other business. I think that's
Yeah.
really important to remember.
Yes.
Um, what is the most rewarding part of being a business owner in green country, would you say?
So the most rewarding part is the community and the people. So
Yeah,
I've experienced different levels of all, my 3 stores are in different parts of green country, and the way that green country, specifically in Tulsa, broad community embraces local and supports local has made
yeah,
contributed to my success entirely. So that's been a big thing. And then just being able to grow within the community has, within the 4 years that I've been open, has proven to be a big part of where I'm located at.
that's awesome. So we've mentioned the Hope and Soap program. I'd love for you to kind of dive in a little bit deeper on that. Tell us about kind of how you started it, what's the impact, kind of what's the whole deal with that?
Yeah, so our Hope and Soap is we choose a local charity every month. And that charity comes in and their volunteers or their directors come in and they come in and design and create their own soap. They get to pour it, be part of it. And
That's super
then
cool.
we put that on for sale for the month of. So whatever the charity is, they get their soap out and they receive 50% of the proceeds of that
Wow, that's
sale.
amazing.
In addition to that, we do a month of giving, and this is very unique to our stores. And if they come in and mention that charity during that month, we'll donate 20% back of what they purchase back to that charity for the whole month.
That's
So,
amazing.
yeah, so that's, we've been able to contribute over $20,000 in these 4 years with our little bitty stores
Yeah,
through donations, giving away soap, give back community events, and in-kind donations and fundraisers.
that's super awesome. I love to hear that. So you already mentioned it once, but how do you choose your nonprofits, the charities? I know you mentioned, client support or
Yes.
suggestions.
So we look at the themes of the year. So, like, what does this month relate to
Okay.
in a global or national level? Like, autism awareness is April,
Yeah.
right? So then we try to find local charities that fit that month theme. Like September is childhood cancer. So we're going to look for, a local charity that does that. So
That's amazing.
um, that's how we've done it so far. And then, so this year we're kind of changing up a little bit, doing some national and some local. So we will often be running 2 charity soaps at one time because we have such a big waiting list to get on. It's hard to turn people away. So we often
Yeah.
create 2 soaps per month and we'll run those concurrently. So last year was the first year I wanted our customers to be involved and not just me picking. So
Hmm.
we had little nomination ballots that you could put in each store, choose your favorite charity and what their cause is and put it in. And so I went through them and I'm meeting with my team this afternoon to finalize my 2025 calendar, all based upon our customers' suggestions
That's
of
super
what's
cool. That's
important to
amazing.
them. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome to be able to bring them into it because already you're giving back to charity, so it makes people feel good and they want to do that. But then when it's their charity that they suggested or the one that's big in that area, they're gonna be like, oh, this is the
Yes.
one we want to support. That's super
Yeah, so
amazing.
we're excited to do that this year. It's a little bit different. So we had some duplicates, but we know which ones are, and I found ones that I didn't even know existed
Yeah,
because, yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, there's so many charities out there. There's no way to know them all just off the
no,
top of your
yeah.
head.
And it's really neat to be able to display a charity and get people awareness of that charity. And so they can at least know that they are there. And
Right.
so many of our customers had never heard, just like I hadn't, of many of the ones we have so many great causes here in Tulsa. So
Yeah,
it's
so it's
great.
it's
Yeah.
more than just even giving back to them. I mean, you're giving them the awareness, which is
Yes.
huge.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you probably have a story. Do you have like a main story that you can think of where you gave to a charity and it benefited them from the Hope and Soap program? Is there one where you're like, oh, when I think of this program, I think of this charity and this story?
Yeah. A couple stand out, but last year we did our Down syndrome awareness. So we did. the in March, so we did Downright Awesome Soap, which is really
That's awesome.
fun. And so we had parents of littles with Down syndrome send us pictures with the soap and how excited they were
That's cool.
to see, that. And then the other same thing as last year, we had our gold childhood cancer. So it's gold for childhood cancer in September. And we had parents sending us thank yous of just thank you for supporting these kids as they're
Amazing.
going through this. I mean, the bravery these children go through. It's
Yeah.
neat. It's really great to see that it touches the lives of.
Uh-oh. Yeah, hang on. Oh, that's amazing. That's super cool. I can't even imagine. I mean, like before I had kids, of course, like any of that stuff is really touching. But then you have your own kids, and you're like, like you said, the bravery, the strength, the courage, the just the fortitude to push forward that kids have when they go through that.
Yeah,
It's amazing. I mean, it gives me goosebumps even thinking about it.
I know. So yeah.
Um, that's really cool. Uh, Getting into, we talked about it earlier, you have you're building a values driven business, and for people who maybe haven't ever built a business from the ground up or started something, that maybe like, what does that mean? So what does building a values driven business mean to you?
So, like I talk about a lot, but the value of what it brings to our community, but also our team. So our team is very integrated and very much a part of what we do and how we do it. And so the fact that we can have products that are handmade by each one of our team members, and then they see value in what they create, and then they can project that value to our customers, and then the
Yeah,
customers know that there has been care and attention put into their products. So that for me is like, so that's a one value aspect of just the team is involved in what they're creating, then the value that we bring to our the community. So being much greater than Magnolia Soap or Scottie Lawrence is nothing to do with
yeah,
me. It's being able to use our gift, our craft, our trade to give value to others.
right.
And I think that's what sets us apart. At least it does in my mind, and what keeps me going.
That's super cool because like I think, like for me, if I was working for you, it would be, oh, this is just soap. But then when you're the one pouring it and you're the one involved in the process and everything, it's like it's more than just soap. Like this is something I actually care about. This is something that like makes me proud to be a part of it. So that's really cool that you're instilling that in your team.
Yes, that's one of our slogans is we're more than just soap. Soap is such a small aspect of what I think our
Right.
bigger um, mission is, and that is the value that we bring to others with our craft.
That's cool. Um, Charity, you're doing the value driven business, all those things, but ultimately we are a business, right? And we're having to make sure we stay in business. And so I'm curious, how do you balance profitability with giving back? Do you set apart a certain amount because that is important? I mean, you can't give back everything you make. I mean, as awesome as that would be, you have bills to pay, you have employees to, pay payroll, all those things. So how do you balance that?
That's the hard part, saying no whenever you
Yeah,
want to continually give back. So we get asked all the time for donations or charity contributions for different auctions or whatever. And there's sometimes I can and there's sometimes I can't. It just depends
yeah,
upon the month because I run my budgets and I use I use a lot of this as marketing. So my marketing
hmm,
budget. So I'm going to say, this is goodwill, this is grassroots. This is part of marketing is giving back,
right,
right? So in that regards, I'm not usually very stingy with it. So
yeah,
I try to
yeah,
give
yeah,
back.
yeah,
But there are times then you have to say no and
right,
or you give less and that's hard.
right.
But it is a thing that you have to do.
Yeah, you have to
So
balance it, and that's the hard thing of being a business owner, right? You have to make those tough calls. But
yeah.
I think you mentioning that you are able to spin it and use it as marketing is huge because you could do a billboard, right? But like you giving back to a charity is going to make such a bigger impact, not even just for that charity, but also like people are gonna be like, oh, that's the soap company that, my kid was going through childhood cancer. And I remember them, all of those things are so big, and they make such a deeper impact than like traditional marketing would.
Yes, I agree. I think that's goodwill, and that's is a larger amount of marketing. You
Yeah.
can't, I mean, you can't buy goodwill, right? It's
Yeah, right.
something that you
Exactly.
earn, and I hope that we earn goodwill by our good works.
Right. That's awesome. So I can tell just by talking to you, you're very passionate about your business and the brand. How have you maintained authenticity across growing to three different stores? Because I imagine when you open just one store, like you're there, and not to say you're not at every store every day, but you're there every single day. You're in the weeds every single day, and as you grow, obviously you get spread more thin. So how are you managing that authenticity across all of that you're doing?
That's a really good question. Last year I made a conscious effort to be more present in my brand because I'm at three stores. I may not be at
Yeah.
any one place when customers may be used to seeing me at certain
Right.
locations, and they're
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
"Oh, she's not there, so is she really involved?" And
Yeah.
so in my social media, I started doing a lot of educational videos and being present and just being a part of the voice and the face again, even if I'm not at the store, just to being on social media
Right.
and promoting my brand through my media.
Yeah, that's
So that's
amazing.
how.
It's cool that you're able to use that as a way to reach across all of it, right? Because like you said, you do start to get spread thin as you continue to grow, right? And so you have to find
Yes.
ways to penetrate deeper with the other technologies. And I think that goes back to you talking about being willing to change, right? Because maybe at the beginning you weren't thinking about using social media to do that for the business, but then it's like, okay, well, how can I change? How can I adapt and stay with this growing business? I think that's really important.
Yes, exactly. Because I started seeing that, oh, I don't see those people anymore, or I'm not there, right? Or I
Yeah,
haven't seen somebody in a year because I've been in a different location. But so we started our Magnolia Must Have Mondays. And so that's, a
that's super
product
cool.
that I recommend every Monday. And so it
Yeah.
hits, or a team member Tuesdays. So things that get people involved and seeing me and who I recommend, and his recommendations that Scottie has. So.
That's cool. That's really cool. Okay, so this is the big question. What's next for Magnolia Soap and Bath and Green Country? Like what's your big plans for 2025 and beyond? What are you kind of planning next?
So right now I am wanting to stabilize my stores
Yeah.
and set my goals. We've seen a lot of fluctuation. Last year was very, very difficult in the beginning. At the end, things seemed to pick back up. We had a great Christmas.
That's
So
awesome.
that's like showing me some forward momentum into this year.
Yeah.
So I'm just resetting my goals, gonna just hone in on where I'm at. I may move one of my stores, different locations. So I'm just kind of seeing how that's going to work to a different site. But for now,
Okay.
this is where I'm at, and just kind of setting goals and just grounding myself again and trying to stabilize how I feel about and taking my stress down a bit. So
That's good. I think that as a business owner, I see it too. Like, right, you reach those goals, and then sometimes like you get to that goal, and you're like, all right, now we need to just maintain, get to where we're very comfortable with this, and then to the next step. But it doesn't always have to be, oh, we hit this goal instantly going to the next one. Like,
yes,
let's get this figured out first.
and that's always been my like MO is I will just like quickly jump on the next thing
Yeah.
due to something being great, but I need a year to stabilize
Yeah.
because every year
Yeah.
I keep adding another one, and then I never see like the growth. I'm always like doing
Right.
this. So
Yeah, yeah, for
yeah.
sure. No, that makes complete sense. Well, now let's get into our two-pack of questions that we ask on every single podcast, our
Okay.
Green Country questions. What does your ideal day look like in Green Country?
So it's changed a lot as an empty nester. So my ideal day used to be running my children around to all their sporting events
Right?
and, staying within my very small 5 mile radius that you do, right?
Yeah.
And then now, as an empty nester and a business owner, and clear on the opposite side of town that I live,
Yeah.
it's been literally I've learned the highways, which is hilarious.
That's
So
so funny.
I never could figure out and traverse these highways, but now I am. So my life is very, very structured, actually. I go to and from only on certain streets.
Yeah,
And, I'm finding my way around without GPS, which is a miracle,
that's
actually, with
awesome.
all of our crisscross roads.
That's funny.
So yeah, I've never, like, I always avoided certain highways. I didn't understand how they exited, so
Yeah, you're like, I'll just not go
I
there. Let's
just will
just
not
not
go
go
down
there.
there. I'll just go on the streets and not the
That's so
highways.
funny. That's hilarious.
I know my
That's
husband
awesome.
says I'm terribly directionally challenged, and that's
Yeah,
true.
my wife is the same. We lived in our neighborhood for, I think we were there for 6 months before she finally realized what road it was at, and I was like, I don't know how you get home when I'm not with you. It's
I
mind
know.
blowing to me. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's super fun. So jumping between stores, just managing the business. I think whenever
Yes.
I just said this in a piece of content I put out last week. It's crazy how whenever you're a business owner, you'll pour everything into your business and you're completely happy with it because it's like that's your baby, that's what you're growing, right? And like I
Yes.
was thinking back over the holiday break, like my wife's a teacher, she took off and I didn't take off much, but I'm okay with that because the business is what I enjoy doing. Like I enjoy growing the business, and you sound a lot like that.
Yes. 100%. Businesses do
That's
not
amazing.
sleep.
No,
No.
not at all.
Mm-mm.
So what's one hidden gem in Green Country that you think maybe doesn't get enough shout outs? Something like you're like, if it, we're, you talked about being local. Local is my favorite thing in the world. So what's one local business that you just absolutely love that you want people to know about?
So local business, so many on Cherry Street. So I
Yeah.
think that Cherry Street has gotten forgotten a bit. So
Yeah.
just shopping and spending a day on. My husband and I love to do days where we just um, go from like pub crawls nearly, that
Yeah.
go from restaurant to restaurant. So I love the Cherry Street
That's fun.
businesses.
Yeah.
There are so many great ones on there. So many new things are popping up downtown, which I
Yeah.
am loving, and the restaurants. But really, I think a hidden gem with Green Country that, I mean, I think it's known that it's here, but people don't involve themselves, and that is the Native American powwows.
Yeah.
Those are, I mean, I come from Osage Indians, so we have,
Okay.
so every year, every summer, we have a powwow in Skytook, and it's a
Yeah.
three-day event, and so it's called the Kahika State Powwow. But there are powwow circuits all over Tulsa and Green Country and Osage County and beyond, and just to go and experience native Oklahoma and what
Yeah.
is truly still here, and seeing the culture that we are proud of, and that one of the few states that still embraces the native
Yeah.
culture. So that is a hidden gem in Green Country is the powwows and the tribal cultures that we have here on display.
That's such an amazing recommendation. I think back to when I was younger, we would go to, and I don't know the name of it or when it took place in the year, but we would go to a Cherokee powwow in Tahlequah. And if you've never been, like growing up in Oklahoma, you hear about it, you know about it, you know this is the culture here. But if you've never been and actually experienced it, it's such a different world that you're like, I didn't even know this was going on all around
Yes.
me. You can be so naive to it. So I think that's an amazing recommendation.
Yeah, I think everybody should
Um,
go. I try to invite all my people that I know come out to our powwow in July, but my parents are on the board, so I call it my powwow. It used to be on our family land, so that's
wow, that's amazing.
yeah.
That's super cool. So in closing, what's one piece of advice you would give someone that's planning on starting a business during uncertain times? I think this is a great thing to close on.
Yeah. So I think it's very cliche, but you really can't, like you said earlier, you cannot be afraid to start. There is no perfect timing,
Yeah,
and there is no perfect idea. So you may learn a lot from that, or you may completely just go full blast and succeed. So the biggest thing people always say, I'm afraid of doing this. And I always
hmm,
say, I'm afraid not to do it.
yeah,
So where will you be in 5 years if you don't do that? It's every decision we make is a ripple effect. So um, where is your pain level? Is your pain level to stay where you are? Or is it pain level to change? So
yeah,
which pain is greater?
Yeah.
And for me, it's staying where I am is a greater pain than changing pain. So
Yeah, for me, it's
that's,
always the what if, right? Like, what
yeah,
if? What if I don't do it? Because I know when I'm, 80 or 90 on my deathbed or whatever, it's like, if I didn't make that choice, and even if I didn't fail, like I may potentially do, like that what if would just absolutely drive me crazy. So I couldn't
yeah,
have said that better myself. That's amazing.
yes.
So all right, well, Scottie, I appreciate you coming on. If you want to give a shout out to all of your locations, maybe let people know where they're at and the best way to find out more about Magnolia Soap, please do so now. I would really appreciate it.
Thank you. Yes, we have three Green Country stores, one in Tulsa, which is on Cherry Street, which is 15th Street, one in Woodland Hills Mall, the lower level, across from the Apple Store, and Broken Arrow on Rose District. The best way to find us is on Instagram or Facebook. We have links to our websites on there, but it's Tulsa Magnolia Soap and Bath, and that covers all three of our stores.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, guys, I appreciate you guys listening to this episode. If you haven't already, please subscribe. We release these episodes every Thursday, and I know that you're going to get a lot of information from Scottie here. And Scottie, I appreciate you so much for coming on.
Thank you for inviting me. I had a great time.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.